A little ingenuity can go a long way towards sustainable solutions and can have a big impact on people's lives. We're happy to share some inspiring stories with you today on Echo Africa. I'm Malama Mukonde here in Lusaka, Zambia, and joining me from Lagos, Nigeria is my colleague, Chris Elems.
Thank you, Malama, and welcome to our show, dear viewers. Let's have a look at what's coming up. Our Rainmakers in Kenya work together with Meteorologists. How to make art out of trash in Mozambique. And how Ghana is tackling its rain drain. We start our show in the small Central African country of Burundi. 4 out of 5 people work in agriculture there, but 2/3 of the population are malnourished and farmers use outdated techniques. Now students have turned to AI to help farmers get the most out of the tools available and boost Burundians' nutrition.
Students at the University of Ngozi want to support the country's farmers. 2 years ago, a group of them, including Eli Bubuya and Dieudonné Abana-Bimana, came up with the idea for an app that helps smallholders protect their crops. Harvests are already being affected. This app will help detect plant diseases as early as possible, which will let the farmer get much bigger yields. We're going to prevent and avoid diseases that have caused food loss in the past. Anyone with a smartphone can use the app to take a photo of a sickly crop. So far, it can identify 37 different plant diseases. Some agricultural apps already exist, but the students wanted to create a product tailored to local needs and as barrier-free as possible. The integration of local languages like Kirundi and Swahili means it's accessible to everyone, even people who haven't been to school, who can't read. They can also use it easily because we've designed an audio interface. The app was launched in Burundi at the end of 2023. Diva Mvuguzi, who lives in the west of the country, started using it last year. He and other farmers in the Tugwiza Mwimbo Cooperative in Bujumbura Rural Province are already regularly checking the health of their potato crop with the new digital tool. Last year, I grew potatoes. They were healthy. But despite that, I could only grow 1 ton over this area. Once I started using this application, I got more than 2 to 3 tons with the same amount of seeds. About 500 people use the app so far. The students regularly visit rural farming villages to promote their tool and to listen to any suggestions or concerns that the farmers might have. There are sometimes technical issues. It's already difficult for us to get fertile soil and seeds. Getting a phone is one more thing. That's why I'm not interested. It would be really good if the students could find a solution and add a function that would allow us to use the app offline. App users can also ask questions and get information. Didas Nian Dabara thinks this knowledge transfer is important. He mainly cultivates and sells potatoes, manioc, and maize. On potatoes, we see blight and other diseases caused by climate change. All farmers must have sufficient knowledge to treat their crops with effective products so as to boost agricultural production. Soon, the app will have tips about how to treat diseases without pesticides. The app is also in use at the university. The founders introduce agricultural students to the tool so they can later work with it. The startup has no funding as yet. it will need sponsors to move on to the next level. The first solution we're considering is using drones and drone mapping to detect the presence and location of diseases. That will save us a lot of time. The founders have big dreams, and the Students app is already helping farmers to reduce crop failure and boost food security.
Litter is an eyesore, and waste removal isn't always as effective. Now, the Mozambican Association for Recycling estimates that just 1% of Mozambique's urban waste is recycled by the formal recycling companies. Now, an artist has come up with a creative and sustainable way to deal with a small part of it all.
Here at this scrap heap, artist Mudungaze Dingirawai breathes new life into discarded objects. He transforms cables, tin cans, garden tools and electrical components into art, creative, unusual masks that evoke African tradition. I've always loved collecting things even when others saw them as waste. I began to envision and create temporary African masks from my collected items. What captivates people the most is recognizing everyday item in these masks, items that have entered a new cycle, gaining a new life. His upcycled artworks are not just decoration. They also tell stories and include important messages, such as the need to treat recyclables as valuable raw materials.
De outro modo, eram objetos que iriam parar no solo, contaminando o solo.
Otherwise, these objects would end up in the soil, contaminating the soil, or they would turn into a problem that is worse, like plastic does. Metal rusts and disappears from the ground or sea more quickly. Now, I think our next focus should be on plastic. Some bad dynamics have already started.
O foco a seguir que nós temos que pensar é o plástico, mas acho que a dinâmica já começou.
Mudungaze's masks have been exhibited internationally, earning him recognition abroad and at home. Some of his masks are now displayed at the Mafalala Museum in Maputo, where he had his first artist residency. This place is of special significance to him, as Mafalala is a low-income neighborhood where people often find indigenous ways to reuse materials otherwise considered trash. Exhibiting his masks here feeds into his concept. Mudungaze wants to use his position as an emerging artist to spread his recycling message far and wide.
Our next report takes us to Uganda. Clean drinking water is a precious resource that can be hard to come by, and that's not just a problem in rural areas. From damaged boreholes in the countryside to polluted wells in the capital, Kampala, digital and sustainable technology is helping improve people's access to safe water.
The tag turns the tap on. It gets inserted into the reader at this communal well in central Uganda, and the water flows.
It works like a mobile phone service. Can you make a phone call without credit on your phone? No, we have gotten used to it.
Software engineer Sevina Abdul Salam came up with the idea.
You carry the tag that is issued to you, you bring it to the water source, you insert it in a specific area, then if there is credit, there is an internal valve, it will open, then it will allow you to start fetching.
Villagers load their tag with mobile money via cell phone, getting up to 3,000 liters of clean water for the equivalent of about $1. The community agrees on the cost, which is supplemented with donations from the non-profit organization Sunda to maintain the wells. And there is an important psychological effect.
The fact that people always thought water is free, they abuse the water usage. You find a person, he needs only 1 jerrycan per se. But he doesn't care if that jerrycan falls and the water spills out. Okay? But whenever they realize there is value attached, like monetary value attached to that jerrycan, they could care more than earlier before to protect, like, you don't just allow the jerrycan to topple off.
Sunda's co-founder also uses the digital technology solution to monitor the state of the wells. He receives data in real time that shows if repairs are necessary, allows him to advise local authorities and monitor misuse. The International Institute for Environment and Development says that more than $360 million are wasted on poorly maintained wells in Africa. The pay-per-fetch system also ensures fairness and transparency.
From the government setting, every household, no matter how big the family is, you have to pay 2,000 shillings. So even if you are alone, you have to pay every month 2,000, which was not good for those small families. Not fair at all. So people were complaining. That's why some people could pay, others couldn't pay. But when we put a system, now everyone is fair paying.
Another initiative supports urban families. In many of the capital Kampala's poorer areas, people rely on wells like this one. But the water is often contaminated with fecal matter. Susan Nakabugo now uses a special jerrycan to disinfect the water for her 6 children. After about 4 to 6 hours in the sun, the ultraviolet rays and the high temperatures kill the germs in the water without it having to be boiled.
It was difficult for me to afford charcoal for cooking and boiling water every day. Sometimes my children would get sick from drinking unsafe water, contracting diseases like typhoid and diarrhea. But getting this jerrycan has been a relief. I purify all our drinking water with it.
Ian Calvin Waiswa donated the jerrycan. He co-founded Student Support and Philanthropy Program, a non-profit organization that encourages students to get involved in their communities. He obtained 1,000 canisters from a Swedish company. Some donated, some financed by his organization. According to UN Water, more than half of Uganda's 45 million inhabitants have no access to safe water supply. Waiswa has a plan for water pains on days when the sun doesn't shine. Then he encourages people to boil their water with fuels made with alternatives to wood. Susan Nakabugo uses briquettes made of organic waste in a stove donated by Student Support.
We are encouraging households that in the time that the sun is not existing, can you use these briquettes? And if possible, we are able to provide the fuel-saving stoves for you to be able to at least cut the consumption of charcoal by a great percentage in the absence of the sun. So this is a holistic solution that we are trying to promote, that in the end still promotes, without compromising the issue of sanitizing the water, still promotes the sanitizing of water, but also protects the environment.
These initiatives in rural and urban Uganda are bringing the country closer to its goal of clean water for all by 2030.
Finding innovative solutions for huge climate change-related challenges takes expertise, especially on the African continent. That's why many study and work abroad, including people from Ghana. But when too many skilled workers leave their home country, innovation and growth can take a hit.
Every little detail is important. William Asamoah is putting his invention to the test. The engineering students want to help Ghana's farmers by cutting the cost of using solar power.
What I'm doing is building an inverter for pumps, for AC pumps, for solar powered irrigation. Contrary to the DC powered irrigations that are expensive.
This one will make it easy for farmers to buy and maintain.
The power of the sun might be free, but farmers currently have to dig deep in their pockets if they want to run water pumps from that energy. To adjust the electricity currents, they require transformers, for example, which can cost some $1,500 in Ghana. Asamoah's invention does away with the need for transformers.
This is they buy our inverter and they buy an AC pump and solar panels and they are good to go. This makes it cheaper than the existing solar-powered irrigation system.
Ghana needs engineers like William Asamoah. But according to estimates, some 70,000 skilled professionals leave Africa each year in search of a better future elsewhere. The RCEs, the Regional Center for Energy and Environmental Sustainability in Western Ghana, is trying to help stop that brain drain. Today, master students are learning how to manage peak power consumption and avoid electricity outages. The RCEs is one of the World Bank's higher education centers of excellence in Africa, aimed at delivering high-quality training and applied research.
The idea of establishing these centers of excellence is to have these students trained within the country. And before you can do that, you have to make sure that the quality that they get at home will be compared to the quality that they get when they go outside.
So far, 90 PhD and some 200 master students have graduated, making it a top choice for students like Georgian and to pursue higher education locally.
Students here are very practical and they are actually making a lot of things. So some students here make inverters for solar PV, others do softwares for energy management systems, and some students also do something relating to forecasting. And it's the same thing they are doing, my friend is also doing in the UK.
In the past, things were different. Ofosu Entry, the director of the center, felt he had to leave Ghana and go abroad in order to get good education.
I was trained at a cost of about 110,000 euros in Holland for my PhD. But then you can use $25,000 to $30,000 to train a PhD student in Ghana. So that money that was used to train me alone can train 4 people in Ghana. So this is how the whole concept is. So when now we train the people within Ghana or within Africa, you retain them, the numbers increase.
Today, students from the institute are being put to the test. They are going to inspect the regional electricity generating company's power distribution system and consider how it could be improved. And the upcoming engineers already have an idea how Ghana could reduce power losses, save costs, and improve the grid stability.
One thing that they could do is to take the grid onto a DC, high voltage DC transmission, which is being trialed around the world. The current grid architecture, which is using AC system, is not efficient enough. So we recommend that they transit to the high voltage DC, which is very efficient.
That is just an idea for now, but Ghana's first floating solar farm went into operation in June 2024, based in part on research results from the center. The West African country aims to produce some 10% of its electricity from renewables by 2030. The solar plant on the Bui Reservoir will play a role in that. Experts say if highly trained students like these are to be retained in Africa, then salary levels will also have to rise.
The whole issue that fuels brain drain is about remuneration. Okay, so if you have the jobs paying us, we should be paid. So if government invests in the creation of jobs, it should also come with good pay so that people see the need to stay back.
Even if I'm saying I'm going outside and I'm going there to work, who stays back to develop our country here? In the end, we have to come back and contribute to the development of our country.
William Asamoah believes that in the future his invention will help improve the lives of Ghana's farmers, as well as generating enough income for himself. The institute is now helping him to launch his invention on the market.
And now let's talk about the weather. Knowing what to expect is crucial for farmers. Inaccurate forecast can have major consequences, including crop failure. But let's be honest, the forecast isn't always reliable, right? In Western Kenya, though, one rural community has perfected the arts of predicting weather by paying close attention to subtle changes in nature.
When Ruben Asitwa wants the weather forecast for Nganyi, he consults the local forest. If he sees ants scurrying around, building a new nest somewhere, he predicts that heavy rain is coming. He is one of the traditional rainmakers who observes the behavior of plants and insects. When trees have flowers but no leaves, for example, then they don't expect any rain. The Nganyi forest in Western Kenya lies in one of the country's most densely populated areas. It's small but rich in biodiversity and includes some of Kenya's oldest trees. The rainmakers have passed their knowledge down from generation to generation, including the art of predicting local weather patterns. Boniface Omena climbs to the treetops to get a clearer feel for the atmospheric currents. If the wind is coming from the west going to the east, that means that we are going to have rain. And if it is coming from the east going west, then that means no rain. Local meteorologists respect the traditional rainmakers of Nganyi. They themselves use modern tools to track the wind, humidity and rain. The scientists and rainmakers have been working together and swapping results for around 10 years now, especially during the rainy seasons. And the rainmakers' local forecasts are often extremely accurate.
We have to get access to the two forecasts, and then we try to interpret the two forecasts. The scientific forecast and then the traditional forecast. We interrogate those forecasts, and then we come up with one consensus forecast. So that's the area of collaboration when it comes to seasonal forecast. That's how.
These joint weather reports are broadcast on a radio station in Nganyi. It was set up by the Meteorological Service to provide farmers with vital information. Host Isaac Okote sometimes invites rainmaker Boniface Omena onto the show to share his tips and insights.
For example, farmers, they have been advised to really visit agricultural officers to give them advice and to give them provisional crops that they can plant or cultivate during this particular rain season in according to the weather forecast.
Farmer Ruth Owano tunes in every morning to catch the weather service. She knows one intense downpour can ruin her family's livelihood. In 2023 alone, heavy rainfall destroyed nearly 7,000 hectares of farmland across Kenya, about 9,500 soccer fields. And as downpours become more common, forecasts are more important than ever. The Nganyi elders have told us there will be rainfall next week, so we need to harvest our beans before then. The traditional rainmakers also have a shrine in the forest. This tree has been here for almost 20 years before it started rotting, so we've moved the shrine to the other side. The rainmakers also have a reputation for influencing the weather. To make rain, for example, they perform special rituals at the shrine. As an exception, Ruben Asitwa demonstrates in daylight what is normally only done in the peace of night. I blow until the wind starts coming. If I feel some light winds, I will know that it is working. If I don't feel the winds, I will not leave this place until 7 in the morning. If I start at 2 a.m., the winds come by 3:45 and by 4 a.m., there is wind all over. For the rainmakers, that is the sign that rain is coming. Scientifically, this has not been proven. However, although they have different methods, rainmakers and meteorologists in these parts of Kenya are working together for the benefit of the community.
And teamwork makes the dream work. That's all for today. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you'd like, why not follow us on social media? From Lagos, I'm Chris Alems. Thanks for watching.
And from Lusaka, Zambia, I'm Malama Mokonde. Thank you for joining us. We hope you have been inspired. Stay tuned for more exciting stories. Until then, it's goodbye.